Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny.
It's not funny.
Give it a minute.
This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Happy opening day in the majors. Welcome into Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Michelle Knezovic, the reporter Nick Keyser with you. And yes, it is my favorite day of the year, opening day in the bigs. And I am so excited to watch my beloved Atlanta Braves hopefully do it again and go win another World Series. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. I love the exciting energy this morning. I feel like I'm not quite there yet. Not quite there yet with baseball opening day. I think for me, one of the biggest things is if the weather isn't there. Like Nashville's been teasing us a little bit. We got some nice weather.
Yeah, well, we get
chilly,
fake spring.
We get fake spring. I'm not quite there yet. I still feel like it's not baseball season, even though today's opening day, Chase.
Yeah, well, it's different for me. It's one of those things where it's one of my first loves. Going to baseball games, going to Sounds games, Braves games, what have you. I went to 5 different parks last year, which was a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
And so, I try to do that every year, go to a new park, because I'm one of those guys that I want to eventually go to all the parks, even though I got to make up a few because, there's been new parks.
Yeah, right,
that
exactly.
have opened. So I got a few teams that I got to go revisit. But, yeah, I am I'm so pumped to watch baseball all day. And I heard your stat in the update this morning that, a lot of times they'll have – just half the teams play one day and then the next day, but every team's playing. So
yeah, I love that. Haven't done that in a while.
Yeah, so I think it'll be cool. And the Bravos will take on take on Washington, the Nationals, the Nationals, starting at 12:05 Central Time today. So looking forward to that.
Yes, and then Yankees and Giants are also at that time.
No, I don't care about them.
I'm just saying, we got Yankee fans all over the world, so I know that people will be intrigued by that one today.
I still have respect for the Yankees, and Derek Jeter, I think, is one of my all-time favorite players, but I'm still mad about 96, so that's just.
Did you hear Morgan Wallen's new song called The 98 Braves?
Oh, yeah.
Great song.
Yeah, I like
that.
That
just
song.
Reminded me of that.
Which is funny to me because I'm not positive he was alive in 98, or he was like
no,
2.
he was young, but he definitely.
I'm like, but no, it's a good song. I remember the 98 Braves. That was another one, and I don't like the Padres, so because of that. But asking the question, because there are new rules in Major League Baseball, which we will go through those in just a second. But I am curious because I heard Robbie make this comment. Adam Vingan was on with me yesterday, filling in on Stillman and Company, and kind of made this comment, and I've heard others do it too, of I haven't watched baseball in a long time because the games are too long. And I think that's the case for a lot of people. So I'm curious, if you're just a novice baseball fan, I put this on my Twitter account as well at Chase on Game, if you're a novice baseball fan, or if you were at one point in time a diehard baseball fan and just quit watching because you couldn't devote 3.5, 4 hours to a game. Are you curious? Are you going to watch, at least check it out for the first few days to see how you like the new rules? 615-737-1025. You can call, you can text. That is our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I never quit loving baseball. I agree. Games are too long. I'm not sure how I feel about the shift.
I'm not sure either.
In that rule, for a long time, it's funny, like Willie, because Willie is a traditionalist. There were certain things.
Is he?
Oh yeah, there were certain things that I thought we should get Willie on before the end of the show. Actually,
if you're listening, call in, Willie.
I'm a traditionalist in. I loved that it was a sport that didn't have a clock. However, I understand it, and I think I'm going to be okay with it because minor league baseball has had a pitch clock for a while now. It wasn't really enforced all that much. Last year, they tried a lot of these rules out in the minors and AAA, and going to Sounds games and talking to Jeff Him, and I know he was on Caroline Willie and D-Mace yesterday. We kind of he brought it up that he was the same way. It's like a longtime baseball guy, was skeptical, but he likes it. So that's probably the biggest thing that's going to be in place is the pitch clock, and that pitchers will have 15 seconds to throw a pitch with the bases empty, 20 seconds with a runner on, and hitters will need to be in the batter's box with 8 seconds to go on the pitch clock. So you're not going to have this whole, the guys this morning referenced Nomar, take your gloves off, put your gloves back on.
Do a couple push-ups.
Adjust your pants and, unbutton a button and button it back, like all this stuff that players used to do because, it was ridiculous. Like there were guys all the time that would just, had their routines. That has changed that now. And I agree. It's like, come on, let's just go. Let's keep it going.
No, I agree, Chase. And do you guys know the sound? I think it's from SpongeBob. It's like, let me bring it around town. I feel like sometimes when we're waiting for a pitcher, it's like, okay, let's get it moving a little bit. Because sometimes it is, you're watching it, and if it's, 0-0 through 3 innings or something like that, it gets a bit tiresome, especially when the game isn't speeding up. I love the pitch count, pitch clock idea. Yeah. I personally am a little bit different in the way I view baseball. I've always said I'll never work in a sport that doesn't have a clock, just because, sometimes I love being at a baseball game, but the amount of times I actually can sit there and watch start to finish 9 innings is very, very rare. And for me, I honestly, and it might be a generational thing because I feel like my generation doesn't watch as much baseball as people used to.
Yeah.
And I can't really watch it on TV.
So, and that's a good point. I grew up with it. I grew up watching games with my dad and going to games with my dad. And so my starting today, there will always be a baseball game on my TV. Now, I may not sit there and watch every pitch in all 9 innings, but I will always have baseball on. When the Braves are playing, it'll be on in, at least one room in the house, and I'll sit down and watch it for a little bit, check it out. I think what they're trying to do, and this is the whole thing with the shift, is they're trying to create more offense. Now, I'm a traditionalist. When a pitcher's got a no-no going and he's just sawing them down, I love that. I will sit there and watch a guy that is on a heater and not allowing a hit or a run. I think they're trying to change that. They're trying to make this more of a hitters friendly game. Mm-hmm. And so that's the whole deal with the shift of not playing so much defensive baseball, bringing averages up, stuff like that. Now, I kind of am like what Robbie said, if you don't like it, then learn to hit it the other way. That's kind of my deal. But so that I don't love that rule, but we'll see how that one shakes out. I'm good with, like I said, I'm good with the pitch clock and speeding the game up there. Mm-hmm. I don't love the pickoff rule because I think that's kind of a part of it too. Now, it does get annoying when a guy's throwing 8 in a row trying to get Speedy Gonzalez off first base.
It's okay.
But, you have created – and I think that's a rule that they might amend. I think that one is one that, all right, they'll try it this year and then they might change it. But I don't love that one. You will see more stolen bases, but –
which is another part of, speeding up the game and trying to create more action around the game, Chase, I think. Yeah.
I know they added, some more things with a position player pitching. So, I think it'll be interesting. But I want to know from all of you, does it pique your interest enough to watch? And I'm talking about beyond today. I think a lot of people will watch today. Mm-hmm. It's opening day. And it's a Thursday, and the Final Four is this weekend. Yeah. There's nothing really going on, and the fact that you have day baseball that's my favorite part is I got the MLB.TV package that I can sit in my office and do work and have a game on, whoever it is.
And that's what Nate on the text line said. Being a 30-year-long Braves fan, I'm excited for opening day coming off a World Series. Won't watch all 160-something games, but I'm excited. Also, today will be background noise during work. So I think that's for a lot of people too. I mean, I love a little matinee sports when you can chop up your work day or just have it on as background noise. I agree. And today's an interesting day, right? We don't have any football. We're just trying to, get the free agency talk going, college football pro days, but Final Four is not till this weekend, and we're in a weird time right now where NBA hasn't quite reached the playoffs yet. So yeah, I'll turn on some baseball today. I have a roommate who is quite a big baseball fan.
Yeah, I figured he might be. Yeah. 615-737-1025. You can call or text. How interested are you in baseball with the new rule changes? We want to hear from you. We'll take your calls and texts coming up next. Join 1025 The Game and the Preds Energy team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs tonight for the Preds Road Watch Party as your Nashville Predators take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stop by and enjoy Brewhouse South 70 beers on tap. Classic American menu along with Cajun, Southwestern, Island comfort food. That's 1025 The Game and Preds Energy team at Brewhouse South in Cool Springs. Your calls and texts next on 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared for Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks, but there's actually big problems that can come from outdated old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems require more maintenance and results in higher utility bills. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Everybody wins with a trade-in credit and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacement. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home, and the men who use PTO to catch afternoon basketball in March with the boys. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV? With more TVs, bigger screens, plus our fabulous scenic views, there's more to watch at Twin Peaks.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offered our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
A good work partner knows what you need before you need it. That's how it feels when you work with Cintas. Your dedicated Cintas service reps get to know your business and have the industry knowledge that can help you prepare for what's ahead. They'll deliver your team's workwear freshly laundered. Make sure your first aid and safety supplies, mats, mops, and towels are stocked when you need them. And your fire extinguishers are inspected and in working order. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You could be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan. taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it. Yeah, that's fantastic.
This is Chase and Michelle
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well done, Nick Keyser. Well done. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It is opening day in the majors, which means I have to watch Major League. I always watch that at the start of baseball season. Have you ever seen Major League? No, that's a no.
Yeah, that's a bad one. I should have just lied and said I've seen it.
I am making that an assignment for you.
Michelle, I have you covered. I have the DVDs. I did the same thing with
streaming.
Elijah.
Yeah, but here,
I don't know if I even have anything to play a DVD on.
It's streaming on a lot of things because you got to watch the unedited version.
Okay.
Because it's funnier with the jokes.
You know what? I know that the White Sox and the Astros will be playing on our main TV today, but I will tonight sit down and be watching that on my laptop.
Yeah, you should.
And I will report back tomorrow, y'all.
You will enjoy it. It's fun. Taking your calls and your texts, 615-737-1025. How do you feel about the new rules in baseball? And we didn't mention the bases too. They've made the bases larger, which I'm curious on that. I think I know why. They're calling it a player safety thing, and they reference that injuries, of running plays were down 13% in the minors last year with the bigger bases, and so that's one thing that they're trying to do. But, I mean, you're going to have more stolen bases because you're adding 3 inches to all the bases. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. But how do you feel about the rule changes if you're somebody that just hasn't been super interested in baseball? I think the World Baseball Classic got a few people.
I agree. I think it's fun. It's different.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads us into the season.
Yeah, so I just want to know if people are going to be paying attention and more interested in Major League Baseball with these rule changes. Let's go to the phones. Adam will lead us off today. Adam, welcome in.
Morning, Adam.
Hey, Miss Michelle, what's wrong with you? How have you not seen Major League?
I
you
know.
owe your career to Harry Doyle. Like, you owe him your career. And you'll go watch it tonight.
I knew you were going to yell at me.
Well, I'm just sitting like
just a bit outside.
What do you want me to do? Die for it? That's the best line of all time, Roger Dorn. No, so I love baseball. I personally, there's a reason that I'm not the one who writes rules, because I would let guys have all the competitive advantages they would. I would let them have the stuff that makes their curveball drop quicker. I would, same thing with the NFL. I wouldn't change any rule past 1990, so people would still lose their helmets, and you won't be able to run over the middle. Basketball games would still be 75-70, and people would fight. But things advance. I get that. I think everybody is like in agreement for the most part that baseball is a little bit slow. Like, and that point can be boring until September, October, and then we're all into it. But to have something that kind of pushes the games along, and it's something that you never know when action's going to pop off. There's a reason that hockey's exciting all the time and baseball isn't. So to have something like force action, I like that.
All right. Thanks for the call, Adam. Appreciate it.
And listen tomorrow, and I'll have a full Major League Baseball recap.
Of the
movie.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny. He mentions Roger Dorn, one of the characters in the movie, and Corbin what's his name? The actor's name. So one day we were all here, Porth, and working and everything, and somebody said Roger Dorn's here. And I was like, wait, what? For Major League? And he came up and did something with the Buzz or one of the other stations and was just randomly here. And so I got my picture. I'm like, it's Dorn. It's Roger Dorn. Yeah, it was awesome.
Is he another random native to Nashville?
I don't know if he's a random native to Nashville, but it was funny because, I mean, he's a key part of the movie, which you will find
I'll have
out.
a full recap tomorrow, and I'm already getting hate on the text line.
Corbin Burnson.
Yeah, somebody texted in. Well, so Chase, we have
let's read some text.
David in Arkansas says, I'm more of a traditionalist. I wish they would leave baseball rules alone. Baseball fans are going to watch baseball no matter what. Pitch clock should at least be 45 seconds, in my opinion, if they're going to use a clock. I think a pitcher pitching the ball in a hurry like this could be more subject to an injury. I could be wrong. That's an interesting
I think
point.
that's an interesting look. The thing is that I have had to accept, and I can give you two perspectives on this because I'm a NASCAR fan and a baseball fan.
There you go.
And I believe that both of those sports are somewhat of a niche sport now. Baseball used to be America's pastime. It's not anymore. And they didn't want to admit that for a long time. I didn't want to admit that for a long time. But it's not. There are other things that people watch. And the NFL has become the most popular sport in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have a correlation with that in a second. But NASCAR realized that they couldn't just rely on the Southeast anymore. They were trying to get the whole country. And they tried too hard, and then they ran off their traditional fans. And now that they have done some stuff that still some traditional fans don't like, they've gotten more fans involved. And, I look at our city. If, they're going through the fairgrounds and trying to get the fairgrounds reopened, or it is open, but, fixed up and making a NASCAR track again,
Mm-hmm.
I look at, okay, you can get some of the traditional fans that love short track racing and beating and banging and all that stuff. They might go to the fairgrounds. And then people that are just, getting into NASCAR and becoming new fans, they might like the super speedway because faster speeds and more room. And so they're trying to have more diversity with their tracks and realize that they have to change. Baseball, it's taken them forever. They didn't want to do replay for a long time. People didn't like replay. Honestly, I think it's great that they have it now because it's so close. Like, is a guy safe or is a guy out,
Mm-hmm.
at first base?
Oh, for sure.
And so I think it's a good thing. Now, I don't know how I feel about these robots calling balls and strikes and reviewing things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And, I don't know about all that. But, they had to do something because attention spans are 2 seconds now, to get people to be more involved. And, I'll use another example. One of the most brilliant things that a baseball organization did would be that I will credit the Nashville Sounds. They built a bar in right field.
Yes.
And that, I go out there, the bandbox, it's awesome. And, yeah, people probably aren't watching the game. But
they're buying tickets.
But they're buying tickets and they're spending money at the ballpark.
Well, and Chase, I think you bring up a good point there, right? And a texter texts in to that point and says, baseball needs to do a lot to bring the younger crowd, but the traditionalists will still hold too much sway in keeping that from happening. So, I think when you touch on minor league stadiums that are, in the middle of a city that's really, really young, I think about here, they have one in Louisville, they have one in Lexington, there's a younger crowd there. So they do things like, okay, bring your dog one night, or, $2 hot dogs or $1 beers or whatever the promotions may be. And no, maybe somebody who doesn't even like baseball will go because it's a social aspect. It's something where you get out of the house, the weather is nice. But I kind of look at, switching to the majors for a second, they still hold a lot of those just really traditional values. And you touched on, when you were younger and growing up and watching them on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, life in our world has become so much faster, and there's been just think of an iPhone. So many more distractions, so many more TV networks, so many more streaming options, so many more, sports you can just watch on TV, and they're having to compete with a lot more that they didn't have to compete with 15, 20 years ago. And the format of Major League Baseball, it being a slower sport, it's harder to get people's attentions now because there's so many things that can distract them. I think that's why, the NHL has become so popular and people going to those games because, you don't even have to know anything about hockey and you can have a blast going to an NHL game. You can have a blast because it's action and it's moving and it's back and forth and it's never stopping. But I can see where somebody goes to a baseball game and they, it's the bottom of the third and they're like, okay, well, I'm kind of over this now. I had my hot dog, I had my beer. I'm not the most interested in baseball. I tried it, but I'm ready to go.
Yeah. It just I am just hopeful that some of this will get, to the texter and the caller's point, that the traditionalists will get in the way. I'm hoping that this some of these rule changes will fix some of that. Because I know for me, as I've admitted, I'm a traditionalist that's finally, buying into some of this. Like, if I'm ever blessed to have kids, I'm going to take them to baseball games and I'm going to teach them to be baseball fans.
Well, and I think going for me, I mean, you have the people who go to games and then they also watch the games of their team and they make sure not to miss one. Or, I mean, if you don't miss a game, you deserve a gold star because you are a true fan. But going to a game, the experience there versus watching it on TV is very, very different. And I don't really know how you change that, but it doesn't translate as well, I think, to a TV product that, things like the NFL do and even basketball. It's a much different experience when you're there and actually watching it.
A lot of you want to talk about this, and I love this. 615-737-1025. Let's talk baseball. How do you feel about the new rules? Is it going to pique your interest? We'll take more of your phone calls and more of your texts. 615-737-1025. That is our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Join 1025 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Grand slams, no-hitters, double plays are all back, folks, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rexrode here to let you know new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. All you have to do is go to FanDuel.com/Joe102, sign up, place your first bet, and you get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. Of course, I'm hoping the Detroit Tigers aren't complete trash this year, but in the meantime, on opening day, how about an Aaron Judge home run? Of course, that's going to happen, right? I'd go with that. Don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Again, FanDuel.com/Joe102 to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball, and you must be 21 or older in present Tennessee. First online room money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
The choice is yours, Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to JarrettFire.com. JARRETT Fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We can get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we can take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $79.99. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply.
We We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too.
I got some good news.
Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 1025, 1063 The Game. Chase McCabe, Michelle Knesvik, the reporter Nick Keiser with you. Taking your call, 615-737-1025. How do you feel about the new baseball rules? Is it going to make you watch more? 615-737-1025. You can text as well. I meant to ask Nick earlier, who's your baseball team? Do you have one?
All right, Chase.
Or is this like your basketball team? Like you?
No. Oh, no, it's nothing like the Sacramento
Hey, your Sacramento Kings
They
clinched a playoff spot.
I'm excited for that.
Whatever.
I've been keeping tabs on that. But, no, I don't really have a team per se. But the story I was going to share with you earlier was I always cheered on the Braves growing up because my great-grandfather watched them. He always had a Coke in hand and always shared one with me, too, watching the games growing up. But then fast forward to...
Did he have a smile?
He did,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Share a Coke and a smile. That's
He
good.
absolutely did. He always loved talking baseball with me, even though I knew hockey really well. But my first family trip with my dad, when he took us to Florida, was to Tampa. And I started to like the Rays after we had our trip to Tampa. However, I didn't keep track of them when I was that old, but I did keep tabs on them because they were close to the Braves. So I kind of have two teams I can watch, but I'm not like a fan of either team. I just enjoy them, but honestly, I'm more of a Sounds fan more than anything growing up. That's who I watched the most out of both of those teams. But I always love baseball. I've covered baseball. It's a wonderful sport.
I feel like your story needed a pitch clock, but, you know, whatever.
It really did. Man.
How long were you thinking of that joke in your head?
For a minute.
If it wasn't on me, it was going to be on you.
Oh, of course.
So.
No, it's a good story.
Or a caller.
There's always room on the Braves bandwagon, my friend. You can jump back on.
Also, just to let everybody know, I'm a Red Sox fan, a Braves fan, and a White Sox fan.
Okay, we'll address that in a minute. That's too many, but whatever. Let's go to Jeff, 615-737-1025. Jeff, welcome in.
Welcome in, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, guys. Enjoying the conversation as usual. I wanted to offer, like, what may be a little bit different perspective. I've heard a lot of commentary the last few days since all these rules changes were announced about how the so-called traditionalist or purist, whatever adjective you want to use, are like hate this stuff. Well, for perspective, I'm 67 years old. I love baseball. I've been a fan since I was like 5 years old. I'll always love the game. And I can tell you that I am 100% backing every single one of these rule changes except for the one where they kept the runner on, the ghost runner in extra innings. I hate that, but all the rest of them I like. I think that, even the shift, and I hear a lot of people that criticize the shift rule as, hey, learn how to hit the other way. Okay, but you know what? Every single sport, like the NFL, for example, they have rules about alignment. You have to have a certain number of players on the line of scrimmage. And I view this as no different. It's the same thing. And I hate the shift personally. It's, in my opinion, it's done more damage to the game of baseball than any other aspect over the last decade. But, like I said, just offering a different perspective from a so-called traditionalist and purist who loves all these rule changes. Have a good day, guys.
Thanks, Jeff. You too.
Yeah, good call. I mean, that's what we want. We want everybody's perspective on this because I think there are a lot of different perspectives on the rule changes. My whole thing that I want to know is, are they going to get some viewers back? Are they going to get new viewers? And I think the biggest thing that they've been up against is, and I'd be curious I would be curious to know the answer to this because I don't have kids that play baseball. I have a lot of friends that do.
Mm-hmm.
Are the same amount of kids playing baseball or less kids playing baseball because they're not growing up watching it? I know I've had a conversation with a few people that their kid plays baseball, but they don't necessarily watch Major League Baseball. Because like back in my day, when we were growing up, I mean, and I didn't play. That's one of my biggest regrets in life is that I didn't play baseball. I wanted to, and I just never did. And because I started playing music and doing theater stuff, and I wish I had. And like the fourth grade is when I wanted to, because that's when the Braves were at their peak. And like we'd play wiffle ball on the playground, and I would stand in like Chipper Jones and like have the wave. You can see me on the stream, like wave the bat back and forth. But we all did, like everybody did their stance like their favorite player.
Yeah,
you had the kids doing the Ichiro and like the whole thing, and I don't feel like you see that anymore. That because kids aren't watching.
No, and that would be something interesting. I mean, I could not even gauge whether that is the case or that isn't the case, but. To kind of relate it, I remember a couple years ago when the women's national U.S. Women's soccer team won the World Cup. I remember I had a couple friends who work in local news doing stories on, these signups for young girls soccer has increased dramatically because, they watch it on TV. And Chase, you just mentioned as a little kid, you remember when the Braves won. And that's when you thought, I want to play baseball. And I know you said you didn't end up playing, but I'm sure there's a correlation between something like that. And I feel like baseball and softball, I played softball, I feel like that and soccer are the two sports that whether your parents try to enroll you in it, those are the common ones at a young age.
I retired from soccer at the ripe age of 4. Let's go back to the phones. Nate wants to weigh in. Nate, what's up?
Morning, Nate.
Go Braves, y'all.
Go Braves.
Coming off a World Series, can't be happier. Been a Braves fan for all my life, my 30 years I've been alive. And I'm excited for opening day, and it's been the first time, and I don't know how long that I've been excited for opening day. The rules changes don't really affect me either way. I'm just, interested to see how this will affect the game. Now, I will ask y'all this because I heard this yesterday. Someone brought up, how will the rule changes with the games going a little quicker, will that affect the beer sales at games? Because they always used to cut it off at the 7th inning. Will they continue to do that because the games are being a little shorter, and that might reduce the beer sale somewhat?
It's an interesting question, Nate. Thank you. I don't see
people just drink quicker.
I don't see them changing that. Now, I will say this. So last summer, and I wish he was listening right now. I know Ryan Porth. He's in Chicago. He's getting the Score has the Cubs, and so he's at Wrigley today and getting ready for their broadcast and everything. But I went to Wrigley with him last summer. It was my first trip to Wrigley, and I said, "Hey, you want to do a beer per inning?" And he's like, "Sure, let's go." And so we would, if you've never done that, it's kind of fun. Do it responsibly. Have an Uber or a DD or something like that. But basically is you have to drink a beer within an inning, and if you don't finish your beer, then you have to double up the next inning. So
innings are long, though. So
but with these new rules, it
sure.
might be quicker, So sure enough, we're good, and we're hanging in there, and we get to the 7th, and I'm like, oh crap, you're gonna have to buy 2.
Oh gosh.
Because at the end of the 7th inning, it cuts off, and so we did that. The only problem is by the time I got to the 9th inning beer, it was very warm.
I'm sure it was very.
And I was like, oh, this is awful. This is just absolutely awful. But I don't see them changing that.
And honestly,
and they probably shouldn't.
I don't think they're going to be drastic. I don't think these games are going to be drastically quicker.
The minor league numbers said about 25 minutes shorter.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, in a grand scheme of an entire game, what is that, a couple minutes an inning? If you kind of divide
but
out
I mean,
the
25 minutes is a pretty big deal, I think, for considering how if it feels like it's moving faster, then that's fine. But I mean, when I go to a sporting event, I know I'm going to devote about 3 hours to it, and that's okay. As long as it's, keeping the pace up, keeping the energy up. Daryl wants to weigh in. on baseball. Daryl, welcome in.
Hey, Daryl.
Hey, what's up, guys, ladies and gents? Michelle, I knew I liked you from the beginning when I heard you, but I like you even more knowing you're a Red Sox fan.
Thanks, Daryl.
I actually have a different question. I want to weigh on comments on the women's Final Four, my Lady Gamecocks, for a second, get you all's thoughts on it.
Okay, we'll take
Particularly you, Michelle. I want ladies' perspective on this. I know Caitlin, I forget her last name. I know she won Player of the Year. Clark, understandably, because she's a generational talent. But I'm not really worried. I mean, I know it's hard not to be cocky when your team's on the cusp of could win its second national championship. I don't think Iowa realizes what they're up against, and I really think that Dawn Staley could use this as kind of a little motivation, because I don't think the fan base. I've read comments on Facebook the last several days. We're deeper. We rotate 12 deep. Iowa only rotates 6 deep. Our rebounding. This team has historical statistical differences in rebounding. I won't even get it. I don't have to say anything about Aaliyah Boston. She speaks for herself. We're huge. We got the height advantage, and I don't really think Iowa realizes what they're in for, because I honestly think it's going to be a pretty easy victory. I could be wrong. Forgive me for being too cocky, no pun intended, because I'm a Gamecock. But Michelle, I'm going to get your thoughts on it. I'll hang up the listen. Love the show. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Really quick. I mean, South Carolina, I think, clear and far is the best women's basketball team in the country. I always say if a team is going to beat them in the postseason, South Carolina needs to have about a B- game, and Iowa or whoever they're playing needs to have about an A++ game. I will say, though, if Caitlin Clark has a 40-point triple-double, again, it's going to be a tall task, but all around, I think South Carolina will win, but it'll hopefully be an exciting game, Daryl. So.
Yeah, for sure. 615-737-1025. Let's squeeze in a few more before we get to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Kevin, welcome in.
Morning, Kevin.
Morning. I just wanted to touch base on, people not watching baseball, the sport, and the kids. And I wasn't a baseball fan a year ago, and what really got me into it was I played fantasy football with all my friends, and they're like, fantasy baseball is way better. And I was like, there's no way. And so I jumped in, and they were right. I watched baseball all last year, and I'm excited about opening day today, and we're all going to watch it. So really got me involved, and I know as far as my kid, he got involved watching fantasy sports as well. So he started watching sports because of fantasy football and things like that. So I think that may help bring up the interest, because it makes you want to watch your players, watch your performance, and things like that. So it's what got me involved.
Okay.
Thanks
for the call. Appreciate it.
He's not alone on that. I have friends my age who, if you're into fantasy baseball, you are watching a lot of baseball.
Yeah, I think that's 100% true. Another Kevin, real quick, to wrap up the baseball for a little bit. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, I live on the west side of the state, and here it's a struggle to get kids to play baseball. Soccer is pretty much taken over. I mean, there's kids that are interested in it, but it's nowhere near like when I was a kid.
Oh, well, thanks for the perspective on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I that's interesting, because there are more options. Sure. And like I played soccer as a kid too, but it wasn't as popular. Now it's obviously popular, but I think that's an interesting topic of how many kids are playing the sport now. Because it just, when I was my age, everybody played it.
I agree.
So we'll get back into this in the second hour, because this has been great participation and discussion on Major League Baseball, but we will shift gears, talk a little hockey. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN.com, joins us every Thursday at 9:45. We'll talk hockey with him next here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Preds fans, Superbook wants to send one lucky fan a pair of tickets on the ice. Text the keyword Superbook, all one word, to 615-737-1025 for entry to win.
Professional quilt maker Dana Balliard once said, "There are no rules in quilting, and if you think that there are, then it's time you try breaking a few." Now, I like that type of creative entrepreneurial spirit, and that's why I do my adult beverage trading at Red Spirits and Wine. It's not just a great selection of distilled spirits, single-barrel Red Select whiskeys, great wines from around the world, and awesome craft beers, but it's more the way the folks at Red just go about their business. At Red, they keep it interesting and fun, and the craft Crackerjack crew makes you feel welcome after a hard day on the trail. Never coming off like some of them snooty-nosed, big-talking whoop-de-doos. At Red, it's always square dealing with the best in service, selection, and prices. Plus, Red is locally owned by real folks, not some totally faceless corporation. There's no doubt in my mind, Red is my kind of place. Red Spirits and Wine, Highway 70 South and Old Hickory Boulevard. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and at redspirits.com.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark at Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Hotel. Looking for a romantic dinner with that special someone? Be sure to join us and try one of our signature dishes, like our Australian cold water lobster tail, flash fried to perfection, and tossed in lemon butter. Did I also mention we've won the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence 7 consecutive years? Come join us for a memorable meal here at Omni and be sure to ask for Chef Mark.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
We do screen printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do embroidery.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do large format printing.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do promotional goods.
Music City Screen Prints.
We do graphic design.
Music City Screen Prints.
mcscreenprints.com. That's mcscreenprints with an S.com. 615-866-6010.
You think it, we print it.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. It's time for the Daily Power Play.
Goal for the Predators.
Covering the Predators and the NHL.
With a shot, that stopped by Saros.
Now on Chase and Michelle.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Nick warned me about this. Chase McKay, Michelle Knezovic, Nick Keyser with you. Let's say hello to Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Joins us now. He's talking hockey. It's opening day in the majors. It's just a great day overall. Greg, how are you?
Morning, Greg.
It's not a great day. So I'm a Mets fan.
Oh.
And you just played the Edwin Diaz entrance music, reminding me that our closer, in true Mets fashion, injured himself celebrating an exhibition tournament victory. So it's not. I mean, it's in the pantheon of Mets fandom. That might not even crack the top 5 calamities, but it's up there. But like I said to my fellow Mets fans this morning, like, today's the best day of the season. 0-0 on the board, full open minds, full hearts. It's great to be a Mets fan today.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm a Braves fan, so we obviously have a little rivalry in the NL East. But Willie Donnick's a huge Mets fan, and so I whenever something like that happens, I feel like I need to go give him a hug. So, that's just kind of the way it is. But it'll be a fun day, a fun year, no matter what, because baseball is back. Hockey, though, is winding down. Only 9 games left for the Predators. I feel like this is how I lead off every week, but 3 points now out of a playoff spot, and they keep having injuries mount up with Duchesne now on the list. But these young guys are keeping them in it, and the other night a win over Boston was just huge.
Yeah, I mean, and Rare too. I mean, Rare is the team that has taken out the Bruins this season. So that was a real big surprise. Hey, look, man. I mean, 10% chance of making the playoffs ain't a 0% chance of making the playoffs. Stranger things have happened. If UC Soros is going to stop 35 of 36 like he did against the Bruins, I mean, who's to even say? Especially when you consider the teams that they're chasing. Which I guess would be the Winnipeg Jets and the Calgary Flames for that last playoff spot in the West. I mean, can't seem to get out of their own way sometimes. So they're not done yet. I mean, it's not as if it's mathematically impossible to see them make a run. But like you said, I mean, the hill is steep. The injuries are mounting, and it would probably take riding Soros into the ground and him having the kind of run that he's capable of having to make this thing a reality.
Yeah, and they play a Pittsburgh team tonight that's kind of in a similar situation that they are in the East. Now, Pittsburgh is in a wild card spot right now, but that's been a team that, I feel like they have just kind of been hanging on to the glory days, hanging on to the core group, and they might have big decisions to make this offseason. But what's kind of your thoughts on the Pittsburgh Penguins right now?
Yeah, man, it's always when you try to keep the band together, you always run the risk of blowing out a couple of your amps. You know what I mean? Like it's a tough gig to try to recapture the magic. It works for some teams. I mean, the Boston Bruins successfully were able to rebuild around an aging core and obviously made themselves into a juggernaut this year. But the Penguins simply couldn't find the right mix to put around Crosby, Letang, Malkin, and some of the other returning players, and it just didn't come together for them this season. What happens in the offseason, I think the smart money is on Ron Hextall, their general manager, being fired, and then them trying to maybe just do this again in some way, shape, or form. One thing is clear. I mean, they backed their goaltending battery a little too hard. I think there's always been questions about Tristan Jarry and Casey DeSmith, and this season I think that goaltending has really let them down and might be one of the spots they really have to reevaluate in this offseason.
Greg Wyshynski joins us from ESPN right now. Greg, earlier this morning, Dan Heino, Preds assistant coach, joined us, and when discussing the matchup between the Pens and the Predators tonight, he talked about the last time they met, and some of the younger guys were a little starstruck, I guess, when playing against guys like Sidney Crosby they grew up watching. How often do you see that when covering the NHL? Some of these young guys get brought up, and for a moment they have to realize, oh, I'm playing against these guys right now. I'm on this ice just like they are.
It happens a lot, and it also happens when these guys get called up and enter a locker room and look around, and all of a sudden you're Sidney Crosby's teammate, right? Like it's kind of it is a crossing the Rubicon moment that you're not really prepared for in life. It's that moment when you realize you've made it, and that you no longer have to look at the poster on your wall at these guys, but now all of a sudden you look over at the locker room stall next to you, and there he is, right? I wrote a story last year about basically the Sidney Crosby generation. There's three players in like the last 15 years that have really influenced this wave of players that we're seeing today. And they're Sidney Crosby, Patrice Bergeron, and Patrick Kane. Like those are the three guys. If you're a forward, one of those guys was your guy. And I talked to a lot of players about, lining up against Sidney Crosby on a faceoff. I remember talking to Dylan Cousins from the Buffalo Sabres about that very thing, and hearing about how incredibly intimidating it is to all of a sudden be like right across from your your hero, your icon, the guy that you've modeled your game after. And then after a while, it kind of becomes a more commonality to face these guys. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it is opening night jitters a lot of times for these young players when they get a chance to line up against their idols.
They check you against the glass, and you're like, okay, back in action. Greg, came out yesterday that the Predators signed Jake Livingstone, one of the top college free agents from Minnesota State. What do you know about him? How much of an addition do you think this can be for the Preds as they, try to round out the regular season with a lot of their veteran guys unavailable right now?
Yeah, Livingstone's an interesting one because there were a lot of teams that were kind of after him during his college career. And I was actually really, when I saw that news the other day come across the wire, I was pretty impressed that the Predators were the ones that ended up with him. 6'3" defenseman. He can produce points. I think he had 35 and 38 from Minnesota State this season. He was there for 3 years, and he certainly was courted by other NHL teams. I had the coach of Arizona State, Greg Powers, tell me that, Livingstone was definitely somebody that you hear mentioned a lot when it came to those college free agents. And the fact that Nashville landed him, I think, is pretty impressive. He's one to definitely watch. He's a good acquisition for them.
Greg, lastly for you, looking at this Predators team and all of their veterans that are either unavailable or they traded at the trade deadline, in this young core that John Hines and his coaching staff has put out there week in and week out, and still fighting for a playoff spot, an opportunity tonight to be 1 point behind Winnipeg. How much do you credit the coaching staff for what they've been able to get these guys to do in these last couple of weeks?
Well, I mean, it's a tough one to really parse because I haven't seen enough of what the team is doing systematically right now under Hines to really understand if it's things that he's doing or not. But I will say this, I mean, you have to remember the context of where they are in the season. And yeah, like they've inched up back to the bubble. They do have a percentage chance of potentially making the playoffs. But at some point, when your team raises the white flag at the trade deadline, as they did with the Ekholm trade, the pressure's off and it becomes kind of a different thing. You know, maybe people are playing with a little bit less stress and strain on themselves. Maybe the kids can come up and just kind of find their way without worrying about like blowing a playoff spot. So I think a lot of it might be psychological, and maybe John Hines has done a good job in trying to foster that and you know, keep them focused while also kind of looking at the bigger picture. But I think for this team, it's just maybe, you know, once you've checked out, then all of a sudden things come a little bit easier for you. And that's especially true for younger players who don't have to really worry about, you know, like I said, all that pressure that comes with a really big playoff race. Although who knows, now they're in one maybe.
Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, joining us here on the show. Greg, appreciate it as always, and good luck to your Mets.
Thanks, Greg.
We'll need it. Thanks so much.
We'll talk next week. Greg Wyshynski from ESPN joins us every Thursday at 9:45 as a part of the Power Play, and always enjoy our conversations with him. And yes, it is opening day. We'll continue our question of the day: if the new rules will get your attention and get you more involved in Major League Baseball. But coming up next, how much do the interviews before the draft sway a decision by a team? We'll discuss that. It's Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
At 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, we recognize our veterans, active military, and first responders with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air,
gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free?
is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Now, your Game Center update.
This is Nick Keyser. The playoff hunt continues for the Nashville Predators tonight as they visit the Pittsburgh Penguins. Nashville could be 1 point behind the Winnipeg Jets if they get the W this evening. Rookie Luke Evangelista on the confidence boost in the locker room right now after Tuesday's win in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, that was a massive win for us, right? Like, we're still right in the hunt and, beating, basically a top three team in the NHL right now. I think if we're able to, get some momentum off that win and gain some confidence, that'd be huge for the group.
And down in Memphis, the Grizzlies fell to the LA Clippers 141-132. Russell Westbrook dropped a season-high 36 points en route to the victory. They'll face off again tomorrow at 7 p.m. And earlier this morning, Trevecca named its next men's basketball head coach in Kevin Carroll. He spent the last 4 seasons on Lipscomb's staff. He'll be introduced following the NCAA's Final Four with media availability. You're listening to 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance.
Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
All the big topics.
That's what people want to know about.
Mixed with some entertainment.
So funny. It's not funny.
Give it a minute. This is Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
We got a great show for you, and even if we don't, who cares?
Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. She's Michelle Knezovic. I'm Chase McCabe, the reporter, Nick Keyser on the ones and twos as well. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. It is opening day in the major leagues. Excited about that. But talking a little football now is pro days going on, the interview process. And one thing that we have seen is Will Levis, who I've been drinking the Kool-Aid on. We obviously know Michelle, being the Kentucky girl that she is, loves Will Levis. But some mocks have him falling down. And a report that came out yesterday is that he's kind of bombing the interviews. He's not doing a very good job in the interview process. And look, when I look at coaching interviews, that was something that had kind of come out on Eric Bieniemy, that he wasn't a very good interview, which isn't, that's important. You have to nail the interview. Yeah. And so, I think that is a concern, but I don't think it's everything by any means. But that has been the issue with Will Levis and falling into some of these mock drafts. Charles Robinson, Yahoo Sports, was on Robbie and Rexrode earlier today and talked a little bit more about Will Levis.
It's a good question because I think I don't know how much I believe whether he's slipping or not. I don't. There's anytime you have a group of quarterbacks, there's always the slide guy, and sometimes it's real. For example, years ago, I remember Josh Rosen was the guy that when it was, what was that class? Mayfield, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, I'm leaving, Sam Darnold, right? That foursome. It was like, okay, well, how is that foursome? And then Lamar Jackson was kind of bringing up he was at the sort of tail end of that group. And it was like, how is this all going to flesh itself out? And Rosen, through the process, you heard, man, his interviews aren't great. He's kind of a quirky guy, has this sort of standoffish tone to him that teams don't like. Is it possible that he's not going to end up being this, top 5 pick that it felt like he was going to be throughout his career at UCLA? Well, yeah, he slid. He slid to 10. And then that actually turned out to be a real thing.
He was bad.
And he was bad. And he was out of the league very quickly. Like, it was what teams were picking up on. It turned out to be a reality. I don't know if Levis – here's what I can tell you about Levis. When you talk to teams, unquestionably, they love his skill set, the arm. I mean, I think most everybody agrees that he has the best arm in the draft. But I think ultimately they're like, look, there is a decision-making aspect of this that we can't get away from.
That was Charles Robinson earlier this morning on Robbie and Rexrode. And I I mean, I hear what he's saying, but I agree that the interview process, whether those reports are all true or not, it's all hearsay. But if scouts are seeing something that they don't like, then that's when you see guys start to fall down the board. Now, there's still going to be a team that takes a chance on him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Malik Willis was a prime example of that. Like, how many people had him going in the first round, and then all of a sudden he falls to the third round, and that's when the Titans got him. And I think we're seeing why that happened, but you still don't really know.
Yeah, and Charles Robinson went on to say that, he had a conversation, with a guy who's in the room during these interviews and said one time one of the prospects walked out and grabbed a snack on the way out, and they viewed that as, oh my gosh, is that entitlement? And he was joking about it tongue in cheek because he said sometimes they're taken so literally, and if a guy just grabbed a snack on the way out and they viewed that differently. He said also sometimes you have to be careful with reports that come out. Are people saying that they bombed the interview because maybe they like a certain guy and they want him to drop in the draft? Because a lot of times too with these mock drafts, with some reports that come out on no, we're not really interested in this player, but they really, really are interested in this player because they're hoping that maybe they'll draft to wherever they're picking in the draft. And I think too, it was alarming, I guess. A light bulb kind of went out in my head because I have a lot of friends and former colleagues who still cover the University of Kentucky beat, and that's nothing I've heard, right? Mm-hmm. Usually when you cover the beat, you know the type of person and whether it might be, because I think in this report it said that he acted a little arrogant. That was the report coming out of how he acted in the interview. And I think it was from, or I know based off people I know who work in Lexington, that it came from the combine in Indianapolis and not from the pro day in Lexington. So those interviews.
Right.
So it was the combine in Indianapolis. And I remember, some quotes of him coming out of, are you going to do the throw drills? And he said something like, I've got the best arm or something like that. And I guess I could see people maybe like looking at that and thinking, okay, that's kind of cocky, but is he a young guy just trying to be confident and it's coming out the wrong way?
And has he been coached? Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
How much of that is his people? Because they all have a circle that are like,
yeah,
hey man,
of course.
You got to have some swag to you. Like come off confident. You get, and sometimes like when you, and I don't know Will Levis. I've never covered Will Levis. I've never spoken to Will Levis.
Yeah.
But like I know sometimes like if you're just not an overly confident person and you try to be, you just come off kind of cocky.
Well, yeah, and the quote from him was at the combine, I've got a cannon, I want to show it off. I think I've got one of the stronger arms that come out of any draft class in recent memory. I would not be surprised if that could come off to somebody that's cocky. And, when you think of these guys, and I'm always really quick to judge somebody on their character. I don't know him. I know people who work around him. I don't know any of these guys, on a personal basis. And I always want to speak very carefully when character comes into play because we don't know these people. And I think sometimes things can get skewed in social media and you read a quote and it can be taken out of context. But this is the interview of their life, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and some people do not interview well. And unfortunately, It's a huge part of this process, meeting with these general managers, could you imagine interviewing with a guy like Vrabel? I would be shaking in my boots.
Oh, yeah. But if I'm Vrabel, like you want to do everything to see how they react to it.
Of course. So I think I saw that report and kind of scratched my head a little bit. It could very well be true, right? And some people could very well view him that way. But I think when things like that come into question, and I'm not just saying that because I went to Kentucky. Listen, if that came out about anybody, I know that Charles Robinson also mentioned that Jalen Carter didn't have a good interview. And he has a lot of other things going on in his life right now, like the incident a couple weeks ago. But I think that we're not in those conversations, and sometimes when we assume that is the reason they're dropping, we have no idea. I mean, it could be Will Levis could be projected to go in the third round 2 days before the draft and go top 10 or something. It's just so crazy how it all changes, Chase.
Yeah, and it's going to change. I mean, it's with pro days and then, advanced scouting. I heard Robbie and Rexrode talking about analytics this morning and with Charles. And, the Titans have typically not been a very analytical type team.
No.
Now they are, are trying to be, I should say. So, how much does that factor in, as they look at stuff? So there's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of change between now and the draft, and that's what usually happens. So, mock drafts are fun. Like, I was just looking at this mock draft from ESPN that Jordan Reed did. He did a 7-round mock draft.
Oh, wow.
So he did the full thing. And, the people that he had, where he had him going. His Stroud number 1 overall, then Bryce Young, Will Anderson is 3rd, and Richardson goes 4th overall to the Colts.
Wow.
Jalen Carter to Seattle at 5. Tyree Wilson, 6 overall to Detroit, and then Will Levis finally at 7 to the Raiders. Then Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Oregon, to Atlanta. Broderick Jones, tackle from Georgia. Chicago. Nolan Smith from Georgia goes to Philly, and then Peter Skorinski goes to the Titans at 11 overall. Now, the one that really stood out to me, because I was like, okay, first round, yeah, whatever. They all have close to the same thing. Show me the second round. I want to see what that looks like. So the second round for the two-tone, 41st overall, Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver, Tennessee.
He has been he is
very
polarizing as far as where people view him in this draft class. I mean, I've heard people say his speed, could be a very fast slot guy for you. People worry he is a small guy. He's going to need to put on some weight. People also say, well, he was open because he was in that certain offense with Josh Heupel, but people view him all over the place, Chase. I've seen him as 25th. I think Mike Tannenbaum had him at 25th overall, and then I've seen early 3rd round. I mean, he is jumping all over the place. Won the Biletnikoff last year.
We'll discuss some of that, but I did want to mention this that we haven't brought up yet, and we totally should. We got a texter that said the national anthem means a little more this morning due to the accident that happened on Fort Campbell last night, and in a very sad situation there. 2 Black Hawk helicopters crashed, 9 soldiers killed in a training exercise in Kentucky, and obviously the 101st Airborne means a lot to a lot of people around here. So certainly, it's been a tough week overall, and this just adds to it. But our thoughts, our prayers with these servicemen and women that died in this, and training and doing what they do every day to protect us and our freedoms here. And so, the national anthem is something that means a lot to us, means a lot to our owner, Bud Walters, and we play it every day on this station at 9 o'clock. And I've gotten a couple of texts of people saying that they appreciate that. And so it is definitely something that we take a lot of pride in, and our thoughts certainly with those at Fort Campbell this morning after a terrible tragedy.
Yeah, terrible tragedy. Well said, Chase. Just not really much to say. Thinking of them, thinking of their families. Tough week here in Nashville, but yeah.
We'll be back. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexrode for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Baseball is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook feature is the best wagering app around, with a direct line to experienced bookmakers, and they're right there behind the counter in Las Vegas. I've met them. They're awesome. Plus, get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. It's that simple. Download the app, make your account, make your deposit, and get to betting, and boom, you get a bonus. Don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back at First Horizon Park. Opening weekend kicks off Friday, March 31st against the Louisville Bats, with Friday fireworks, live music Saturday, and Sunday family fun day. See you at the ballpark. Get tickets at NashvilleSounds.com. We at Cromwell Media are heartbroken by the horrific and senseless shooting that took place Monday, March 27th at the Covenant School here in Nashville. Because of the outpouring of love from our generous and thoughtful community, the Community Foundation has established the Caring for Covenant Fund to manage donations made in response to this tragedy. All donations made to the fund will be directed to the Covenant School to support the healing of those affected by this tragedy. Together, we will send a message of love and compassion. To donate to the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, visit cfmt.org.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine, and general orthopedics. They accept walk-in and same-day appointments. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com or just walk in to Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Hendersonville Medical Clinic. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rexrode, 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle, 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company, 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3, The Game. Taking you through your mid-morning.
Love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. This is Chase and Michelle.
Where'd you find those crazy characters?
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Chase McCabe, Michelle Konezvik, Nick Keyser with you. The cheap seats, bringing us back. Reminds me of my old Saturday morning days with Ryan Porth when we did when we did a show called The Cheap Seats, and this was a part of the open. Very
I like
cool.
this song.
Yeah, old Alabama song about minor league baseball. It's great. Opening day in the major leagues. That was your hit. It's okay.
I apologize to the ears of our listeners out there after that.
What do we think we're going to learn with Florida's Pro Day? Anthony Richardson, do we think that there's going to be this, he's either going to move up draft boards or he's going to fall or there's going to be any change at all? Rand Carthon is in Gainesville. He's been to all the quarterback pro days. I assume Vrabel's with him, but
Vrabel's in Knoxville, actually.
Oh, Vrabel's in Knoxville.
So he'll be at Tennessee's Pro Day today as well.
So I liked the little nugget this morning that everybody got there early to watch
Joe Milton.
Some Jover throws in practice, to see that, get an early glimpse of that.
Yeah, Adam Sparks put that out on Twitter this morning that some NFL employees, scouts, got to Pro Day a little bit early to check out Mr. Joe Milton, who will be their quarterback next year. And I was trying to see if I noticed any, whether Vrabel or any Tennessee Titans people. So got to ask Adam, hey, was Vrabel one of those guys coming a little bit early?
Yeah, I'm curious on that. So and Rexrode said something interesting this morning that we'll get in just a second on Joe Milton. But Mike Tannenbaum has the Titans taking Anthony Richardson at 11, which I still right now I'm going to be I don't like that pick if that's the case. I'm not sold, and I'm curious. Teron Davenport's going to co-host Stillman and Company with me today. I know he likes Anthony Richardson, and I'm going to tell him you have 3 hours to sell me.
Sell me, TD.
And because I got to give TD credit. TD was the one a few years ago that and he always will find a player that he really, really likes that maybe people are unsure about. And he does his homework and he watches film and then he does a really good job explaining this is why I like them. These are the things they do. And Jalen Hurts was a prime example of that. I didn't think Jalen Hurts was going to be a strong NFL quarterback. And to this point, TD's been right and I've been wrong.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to admit that.
And he also was one of the first guys who pointed out Andre Dillard and put him on my map to look at offensive linemen this offseason who potentially would be available. I mean, he had been talking about him. I think it might have even been before Chase, our show even started. He mentioned his name that.
Oh yeah, he's been mentioning him for a while.
He would be a guy that they should look at, and he has that eye for it. He used to play football. He's really good at finding these guys. But yeah, he's very high on Anthony Richardson because I think right now, I mean, we can rule out the Panthers have the number 1 overall pick, whether they decide to take C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, and then I would assume whoever doesn't go number 1 will go number 2 to the Houston Texans. So it's really up to if the Tennessee Titans have an opportunity at 11 to get a guy like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or Hendon Hooker, I'll throw in there because his name has skyrocketed up there. He still has his ACL injury, so he's unable to participate in a lot of these activities. But, I mean, when he was at the Super Bowl and he talked to Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow, he said that he's going to be ready for the season. So
I would love to – I've never been to a pro day. Actually, wait, I take that back. I have been to a pro day. I went to Vanderbilt's when Cutler was there, but I want to go now that I know more and I'm more involved in the media because I would just love to see how much because I've always heard Floyd used to always say you learn more about a player at their pro day because he just had more time.
No, they're more comfortable
and more comfortable and they're with with their people and stuff, and so I'm curious to see how kind of perception changes whether it's for Anthony Richardson or at Tennessee's pro day. I mean, look. Hendon Hooker, a lot of people talk about him. He's obviously rehabbing from the injury, but Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, Darnell Wright, was it Byron Young? I mean, they got a lot of players that are getting interest in this year's draft, and so I find it interesting that Carthon's going to look at the quarterback in Florida, and Vrabel's going to kind of look at other positions and everybody else. Because,
and I'm sure Hendon Hooker will be there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I would think so. So. I think pro days can tell you a story. But back to Joe Milton for a second because it's going to go either way with him. I don't know. But I heard this comment from Joe Rexrode earlier today on Robbie and Rexrode that made me laugh. And I texted you and I said, save this because I think we need to hold on to this for a while whenever we get to next year and next year's draft. But this was Rex on Joe Milton.
QB1. Caleb Williams, step aside, my friend. There's a new sheriff in town.
I will say, like Joe Milton, when I think about pro day, whenever Tennessee's pro day is next year, like Joe Milton is the type of guy that seems like, oh my God, like if you talk about impressive pro days, like Joe Milton seems like the one that could really just blow people out of the water with his pro day.
Oh man,
yeah, I mean just slinging it everywhere. Like he just threw the ball 83 yards on a rope right over the shoulder. How about that?
They might have him throw a receiver. Like he can probably throw a receiver 50 yards.
Squirrel, come here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's going to. Yeah.
I cannot wait for this football season for no other reason than just talking about Joe Milton. It's going to be. I don't know how it's going to go. I know it's going to be entertaining as heck, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Listen, at this point right now, I could see Joe Milton a year from now being a lock first rounder. I really could. And I could also see Joe Milton a year from now being like, maybe he's like a third-day guy. I mean, seriously,
it's a big range.
I really believe the range is that wide. And if he can basically improve on the Orange Bowl and kind of harness that and take that forward and, obviously win this year, I think someone's going to be enamored with him.
So what if a year from now we're talking about Joe Milton and, we're giving a lot of praise to Hendon Hooker, and rightfully so, and Hendon Hooker was a Heisman contender. I need to look at the Heisman odds and where Milton is, but I would probably dabble a little bit right now just because he's so all over the place that you never know.
Well, he has the talent. He has those intangibles of, some of the throws he makes. We joked about it last year, right? Jover throw and him just having a cannon of an arm. You talk about some of the athletic traits that Joe Milton has, and they're in a class of number 1 overall pick traits that he has. So if this year he can take a significant step in just being accurate and reading defenses and different things like that, and he can have a successful year as their QB1, because as much as Vol fans, I know Nico is exciting, Joe Milton will be their QB1.
To start, it could. That's the thing. Like he could lose the job, and on VegasInsider.com, which does a great job of putting a lot of different books together, Joe Milton is anywhere from plus 1,800 to plus 2,500 to win the Heisman.
Well, I would put
a
little bit of money on that, a little futures bet, but
the favorite, of course, is Caleb Williams.
Yeah, no surprise. Drake May is probably in there as well.
He's number 2. Then Jordan Travis, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Sam Hartman.
No, Bo Nix, yep.
Jaden Daniels, Kyle McCord, then Joe Milton.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he is down there. And I think a lot of people, too, forget about him because he had the starting job, then Hendon Hooker took over, and then it was the Hendon Hooker show last year. But, Joe Milton is in a very interesting position right now because we saw what he was able to do in the Orange Bowl. They beat Clemson. That was a very important game where he rose to the occasion. Can he build on that even more this year? And he just has to be consistent. And I think Joe put it perfectly. He has the ability to go very high in the first round in a quarterback-heavy draft class where we're talking about Caleb Williams and Drake May. If he can be consistent there, I put him right up there with those guys and even an opportunity to pass them just because of his arm strength, his athletic ability. So, or he could be a third-dayer.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. And I think to Robbie's point in that clip we just played, that's one of the many reasons I'm going to pay attention to Tennessee football this year is because the just uncertainty with Joe Milton. But I will say, I believe the fact that Joe Milton got benched, lost his job to Hendon Hooker, stayed with the program. He didn't leave. He could have left. He could have transferred again.
Easily, yeah.
And he stayed put, stayed with it, stayed in that offense. That could pay dividends.
Learned from Hendon Hooker.
Yes, learned from Josh Heupel.
Yeah.
He didn't just because people forget, when all that happened, that was Heupel's first year. So, the fact that he stayed in it and now, he's looking to get the reins. I kind of feel like the second shot could be pretty good. And he did a good job at the end of the season last year, and
I agree.
Obviously the Orange Bowl. So, definitely going to be something to pay attention to. Coming up next, we're going to get back into our topic that we started the show with and want your participation at 615-737-1025. That's our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. With Major League Baseball opening day today, the new rules that will be in effect, if you're somebody that really hasn't paid attention to baseball, will you pay more attention? And if you're a traditionalist that likes baseball, how do you feel about the new rules? 737-1025. We will do that coming up here on Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
Be the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, anything that you could ever possibly want. We have every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here. We ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Hey y'all, it's Caroline Fenton, and I want to tell you about my friends over at 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza is my favorite place in town. It's family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style, always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesday and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 or head to 312pizzaco.com to order. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Grand slams, no-hitters, and double plays are back. And there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and my official sportsbook app. That's because right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/JGM, sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. I mean, think about all the things you could bet on, like an Aaron Judge to pick up where he left off with a home run, or a pitcher to go over with the strikeouts. So don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Go to FanDuel.com/JGM to sign up. FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 deposit required. Refund issues, non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 14 days and restrictions do apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas.
I got some good news.
Taking you through your mid-morning, this is Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
All right, Michelle, you hear this? You think baseball, who comes to mind?
I don't know.
Oh, being from New York, you should know this. And the enemy of the Red Sox.
Jeter?
No. Now pitching for the Yankees, number 42, Mariano Rivera.
Bleh.
Yeah, look, I hate the Yankees, but he's the greatest closer of all time.
Bleh.
Got to give credit where credit is due.
Fair.
Chase and Michelle.
The Yankees get enough
Here we
credit
go.
with how many titles they've won.
I love this song. Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Opening day in Major League Baseball. Taking your calls, taking your texts, 615-737-1025. With the new rules that have gone into effect in MLB, is it going to make you more interested in Major League Baseball? Want to know what you think? 615-737-1025. Let's go to Jamie. Jamie, welcome in.
Yeah, as a fan, they're putting in the new rules to produce more runs and everything, but the problem is, as a coach of baseball, now you're telling me that I can't play the shift to get the players out the way I would like to. I can't produce the outs the way I need to for my team, and it's all because of money. They won't hit the ball the other way because they don't get paid to hit singles in the game anymore. It's all about money. It's not about winning anymore. It's about producing money. Numbers.
So you're a coach?
Used to be.
Used to be. Okay. Yeah.
Those guys can hit it any way they want to. Those left-handers can hit the ball to the left side of the field, but they don't because you don't get paid to hit singles. Nobody cares about that anymore. They want home runs and doubles.
Appreciate the call, Jamie. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
To his point, though, I don't think it's never been that way. Like, nobody's ever wanted to see singles and doubles. They want the big hit. I mean, I remember the commercial with the Braves with Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine. Chicks dig the long ball. I mean that was a campaign. I think it was MasterCard that they did, and that, I mean, it's true. Like, they people go to a ball game. You want to see home runs. You want to see the big fly.
Yeah, and to, the money point, right? The pitch clock, it's trying to get the game to be faster so more people either buy tickets to go or more people watch on TV. The unfortunate truth about professional sports is it's all about money. Everything is about improving the product to get more viewership, to get more people to come to your games, to get people to invest in your product. Why do you think all these new stadiums are popping up in the NFL and baseball, right? It's always, how can we generate more revenue? It always is. And, how much will these new rules impact the game? Because I think, it's fair right now if you've been a baseball fan forever or you're looking to start watching more, we don't really know what it's going to look like yet. We can assume how certain rules are going to make the game look or things like that. I think, as far as the pitch clock, I think most people are on board for that. I mean, I haven't heard anybody who's really against it yet. As far as the shift, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I don't have a solid opinion on it yet because we haven't watched what it looks like yet. And unfortunately, to his comment, it comes all back to money, right? But that's professional sports as a whole. We have an interesting text. Somebody texted.
Real quick, before you read that, Nicholas, I have an assignment for you. Reporter, you can seem more excited. Will you look up in the last 5 years how many no-hitters or perfect games there's been in Major League Baseball? Okay. And I have somewhere I'm going with that. All right, read the text.
Quick, on the text line, didn't text in their name, but they said, I'm a Marlins fan. My fiance told me yesterday she was going to start watching games with me due to the new rule changes. She sits with me most of the times, but always says the typical things. Now she's actually really excited for the season. Being 24 years old and been watching since I was 4, I do think the rule changes will absolutely bring more of a younger generation to games and even just watch it regularly on TV. I think that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely more interested. Chase, we talked about when the minor league added the pitch clock in, it took off about 25-ish minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's almost a half hour of your time, whether you're watching on TV, whether you're actually in the stadium watching it.
Yeah, I think, like she said, her age, she's 24. So, I mean, I think that's kind of the sweet spot of the fan that they're trying to get that has been less interested. Now, I was texting with a friend of mine that has an 11-year-old that, he coaches and everything. And it's Darren. And I asked him, the interest level in baseball. And he said that it's the video games and YouTube that is how they're not watching games. And no, they get stuff from watching stuff on YouTube and the video games. But it's not like it was with people my age of – that you go to a game or you watch on TV and now something that came up on the text line earlier that I do think is a good point. My generation, and the reason that I'm a Braves fan and a lot of people are Braves fans around here or Cubs fans is because the Braves were on TBS and the Cubs were on WGN. And so you could, wherever you were in the country, you could watch those two teams.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. Now it's not that way. You have the regional networks like everybody else where you're watching on Bally or what have you, and whatever team you're in. Now you can get the baseball package and watch any team. One thing that was so much fun for me when I started my career is we had it here And so I would work late nights and overnights, and I'd watch the Dodgers and listen to Vin Scully. And, so you can do that. But now, ESPN has a package where they'll show you a national game, and
Bally
TBS and I'm talking about cable, like
yeah.
national games. But Bally, it's all regional. So
Mhm.
it's like wherever you live, that's the team you're going to see. So I think that that certainly had something to do with it too.
Yeah, Chase, I think it's everything. I think it's, my generation, we're about 10 years apart, and we were talking about this in the break where
We didn't need to bring that up.
Sorry, Chase. I grew up and I watched baseball with my brother and my stepdad and our family, and my grandpa was a huge Red Sox fan. So we watched it growing up. But, once I started to get into middle school, a lot of those things changed because that's when iPhones came into play and so much social media and, your attention span and the amount of different things you had access to, right? Facebook and Snapchat and all of these things, I think they just add something, right? You said that the Cubs and the Braves, they were one of the two teams that you could actually watch here. Now you can watch whatever you want at the palm of your hands, whether it's on a computer, whether it's on an iPhone. And, to Darren's point, he has a young kid. He said all these kids watch him on YouTube or they play their baseball game. Shout out Backyard Baseball, which was the best game ever.
King Griffey Jr.
Loved playing that when I was younger. But it's just the fact that we have so many more things to distract people, and now baseball has to compete with all of those things. And I think the product isn't at the level, just as far as entertainment value, watching it on the screen, that other things are. I mean, you can watch it in sped up on YouTube or things like that. So, unfortunately, you do have to change the game to, appeal to a bigger audience and to make people watch it more on television.
Yeah, and I think that to this texter's point, give me someone who hits 330 to 350 rather than a 270 player with 40 to 50 home runs. It's all about winning, getting players on base to allow the opportunity to score more runs. That's why they're taking the shift out. Essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And look, now I like that. I don't want to see 7 home runs in a game. I want to see baseball. I want to see, I was very hesitant about the DH coming into the National League because I like small ball. I like bunting. I like moving a guy over. I like the strategy involved in that. And so
this
now,
isn't a home run derby.
Right. So I do agree of, let's get on base. Let's get, have 2 or 3 runners, and you have to, as the pitcher, you have to figure out how to get them out. All right, let's go to the reporter. He has done his research.
Yes. So I have counted up 42 no-hitters, and I also, obviously, there's 23 perfect games ever, but I wanted to look at how many there were kind of recently. So since 2010, there have been 4 perfect games.
Okay.
But the 42 no-hitters to me is very interesting because the later you get up until now, there's actually been quite a few.
Yeah, I mean that's why I was asking you to do it, because I feel like we've seen more recently, and I'm wondering if that's going to go down now with these new rules. Because, I mean, these rules are more in favor of the hitter and not the pitcher.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
So I mean, you're taking away the pickoff essentially. Like you're.
What are we seeing in every sport? Everybody wants more offense.
They want more
whether
offense.
it be basketball, whether it be football, whether now it be baseball, right? That is what people want to see it. They want more points on the board. We're seeing it across all sports right now, Chase. So a part of me is not really surprised.
I feel like during the break I got to show you the Chicks Dig the Long Ball commercial. That was a great one back in the day. But we'll continue to take your calls and texts on this. How do you feel about the new MLB rules? 615-737-1025. It's Chase and Michelle, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
All right, baseball is back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. Make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around, with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. It's that easy. You download the Superbook app from your app store. You create an account. You deposit your money, and then you bet on whatever it is you want to bet on. If it's baseball, Atlanta minus 240 today against Washington. New York is minus 170 against San Francisco. Those are the early games that I like. Boston minus 120 against Baltimore. Chicago plus 126 against Milwaukee. It's all there at the palm of your hand on the Superbook Sports app. Don't let spring pass you by without winning money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Spring in and style up with huge savings on top athletic brands at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin. Stay active this spring with up to 70% off the athletic styles you love. Shop deals on thousands of styles from top athletic apparel and footwear brands like $10 tees, tanks, and shorts for the family, $20 swimwear, $20 golf polos, and running footwear for $60 or less. Find incredible deals and incredible style at your Dick's Sporting Goods warehouse sales store in Franklin at Watson Glen.
Hi, this is Warren Moon, 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback and member of the Tennessee Titans Ring of Honor and Pro Football Hall of Fame. On the field, I always wore a helmet and pads to make sure I was protected. Life is no different. That's why I got vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. Protection keeps you in the game. Talk to your doctor and get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19 today.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee. This week's Nashville's best deal is the all-new Hot Works Goodlettsville off Long Hollow Pike. Right now, join for just $39 in time for their grand opening April 1st. That's $60 off at thegamenashville.com/deals. Hot Works offers 24/7 infrared fitness in 15 and 30-minute virtually led sauna sessions. Get more workout in less time at Hot Works. And right now, save $60 on enrollment at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. Have you ever thought to yourself, buying a car online? That sounds like a nightmare. But fear not, my friends. With Newton FastPass, it's easier than catching a leprechaun. In fact, our system is so user-friendly that even a leprechaun can do it. And let me tell you, those little guys are notoriously bad with technology. Also, with Newton FastPass, you're practically guaranteed to get a great deal. It's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of overpriced cars. And who doesn't love a good deal? I mean, I'd be willing to bet that even the most skeptical among us would feel lucky to snag a great deal on a new car. That's not all. When you use Newton FastPass, we'll throw in a free leprechaun to help you navigate the process. And trust me, these little guys know their way around a car deal. Just be sure to keep an eye on them because they can be a little mischievous. So what are you waiting for? Visit newtonnissan.com and join the ranks of lucky car buyers. You might even feel like you're living in your own personal pot of gold. And remember, with Newton FastPass, you're always in luck.
We at Cromwell Media are heartbroken by the horrific and senseless shooting that took place Monday, March 27th at the Covenant School here in Nashville. Because of the outpouring of love from our generous and thoughtful community, the Community Foundation has established the Caring for Covenant Fund to manage donations made in response to this tragedy. All donations made to the fund will be directed to the Covenant School to support the healing of those affected by this tragedy. Together, we will send a message of love and compassion. To donate to the Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee, visit cfmt.org.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Jason Michelle podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Chase and Michelle on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Chase and Michelle, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Time to chop for the A. Get another World Series. 2 and 3 years, I would take that. Last year came up a little short. That's okay.
Well,
Let's get another one.
You guys were struggling for about 30 years, so.
No, the 90s were pretty good.
Well, before that.
Yeah, before that. The 90s were okay. There was a little bit of a gap in between, but we'll see. For the A. Opening day in the major, 615-737-0969. 1025. We want to hear from you and your thoughts on the new baseball rules. Is it going to get you more interested in Major League Baseball? But, hey, tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tomorrow night at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds have their home opener at First Horizon Park against the Louisville Bats, AAA affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Family Leisure. Now, if I am reading all of this correctly, Reds first baseman Joey Votto is going to start the year on the DL, but he's going to be rehabbing with the Louisville Bats, which means he could be playing tomorrow night against the Sounds.
That's always cool when somebody's on a rehab assignment. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mentioned a family friend of ours, Ian Anderson. He was 3rd overall in 2016, somewhere then. And he was with the Gwinnett Stripers. And I got to see him come pitch here for the Sounds. And Ryan and I have gone to a couple of the White Sox affiliates here, the Sounds. It's cool whenever you find out a big guy's on a rehab assignment, you get to watch him.
And Ian is with the Stripers. So
yeah, he is. He's with them now.
Yeah, so the Baby Braves, as I like to call them. But looking forward to that. So I will be taking – I hope the weather can cooperate tomorrow. I know the weather might be a little iffy.
It's supposed to rain all day.
It's supposed to be kind of bad.
Nashville, can we get it together and just pick one?
No, we can't. 615-737-1025. Tim wants to weigh in. Welcome in, Tim.
Morning, Tim.
Hey, guys. Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
The guy from West Tennessee that called a while ago said that more people are playing soccer. There's a very easy reason why. You can get a $15 soccer ball and throw it out there and have a game. You go start buying baseball equipment. Bats are $500 to $1,000. You buy a glove, you have to buy cleats. That's the reason a lot of people are going away from it.
That is a very interesting point, Tim. Thank you for the call. I think that is spot on, because that's another thing, D and I have talked about, that it's so think about, like, hockey's expensive because of all the equipment, especially if you're a goalie. If you're a catcher in baseball, you got to buy all that extra equipment. But gloves aren't cheap. Bats.
And everything's just getting more expensive. You just talk about inflation in general. Everything's getting more expensive too. And he makes a good point. And it's something. Neither of us have kids right now, but it's something. If you're a parent, people probably talk about it all the time. And then you think of, if your kid wants to do a travel league and something, then that's, you're paying to travel and you're paying to play year-round baseball and fall ball.
It's an investment.
It's so much. Oh my gosh, yeah. And then if your kid likes it for, a year and a half, and you bought him a $300, $400 bat, and then he's like, I don't really want to play it anymore.
And the thing is, like, I think back in the day, you could pick a bat up at like 10 years old and then, go to college or go to, be good enough to get looked at by, a major league organization. Now you kind of have to start at like 3. Like
in every sport.
Like I look at, I know, people my age that have boys, and they're about 3 years old, and they are, or girls actually, both genders, they have them in front of a tee. Yeah. And it's like, that's where you got to start. And, Maddox, Darren's son, was about 3, I think, 3 or 4, and they start playing t-ball. And it feels like with anything, you have to start early for them to really get it, and then, then they decide if they like it as they get older.
And if you don't, you're behind.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Because everyone is. And I think that's a testament, too, to how much sports have just grown. We've talked about baseball pretty much throughout the entire show today, and it being traditionally America's pastime, right? Right. Baseball was it. Everyone played baseball, but now sports like hockey and basketball, it's expanding more, and those sports are becoming more and more popular as well. You talk about, AAU in basketball, that's a whole nother entity. And then you talk about football and 7v7. And now it's not that you could play football in the fall and then you could play baseball in the spring and the summer. You pick one sport now and you're playing that year round, because they have programs where these young kids, if you don't play year round and you're a football kid and you don't play 7v7, you're behind. So we've gotten to a point where sports have become, first off, so competitive, and there's been so many, clubs and groups that you could be a part of, and you're forced to choose. If you like baseball and you also like football and you're a young kid, well, if you want to be competitive in one of them and try to go to college or play at an elite level in high school, you have to choose one. It's very rare that we're able to see young kids be able to do both because, well, if you don't play fall ball, Chase, you're already behind.
Yeah, but I hate that though because one thing that I know that I have picked up working with Willie and Darren and George and Joe Dubin and Greg Pogue, all these guys over the years is your kids need to play multiple sports. That there is a huge benefit to going from football to basketball to baseball to track to wrestling to whatever. And, like Willie was a two-sport athlete. He played both at Vanderbilt. He played basketball and baseball collegiately. And
then in the minors.
And you don't see that as much anymore. Like gone are the days of the King Griffey Juniors, or not King. I don't know why I said King Griffey Jr., but gone are the days of the Deion Sanders that would play for the Braves or the Reds and then play for the Cowboys or the Redskins or what have you. And like that was so cool. Bo Jackson, like I love the two-sport athlete, but now you're right. Like there's so much money involved in it and things are so expensive that you have to choose because you have to devote 365 to it. And I hate that. Like I think kids should be able to play at least two, but I mean, a lot of my friends and it was from the start of the school year to the end of the school year and you were playing 3 sports.
This is going to be an ongoing topic all summer long, Chaser.
Yes, it is. That is going to do it for us today, but don't you go anywhere. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace are coming up next. They're going to talk about Jordan Reed's 7-round draft to lead things off. Happy opening day. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 9, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.